What's up, plant lovers? I'm Devin Wallien, and in today's video I'm going to be building out a shrub border along the edge of my yard. I recently had my deer fence installed, and I have a big section, about a 50-foot section, that should be filled with some beautiful plant life rather than just seeing the fence. So I thought this video would be a good opportunity to show you guys the process of creating a shrub border. Now, a shrub border is just like any other sort of perennial garden border, except for we're using shrub. And in the process of creating the shrub border, the first thing that we really want to do is define the space that we're going to be filling. So as you can see, this section back here is the area that I'm going to be filling. So a shrub is essentially defined as a plant that retains a woody structure all year round, as opposed to a herbaceous perennial, which will die back in the wintertime. Shrubs have some sort of form all year round. There's both deciduous shrubs and evergreen shrubs, and I'm going to be using a selection of both. Now, once you have your area defined that you want to be planting in, you can roughly step it out to see exactly how long you really want to fill out, and as well as the depth that you want to fill out. So for me, it's about an 80-foot long border, and I want to fill it out about 30 feet or so. Now that I have the dimensions that I want to fill, what I'm going to do next is search plants that I want to put into my garden. Perhaps I have some plants in mind that I already know I want to include. Some of my favorite resources to use would be any university extension websites in your area that list native shrubs. That can be a very good jumping off point. When we're doing a shrub border, I like to include probably 50% or more of native plants. It's going to be beneficial for you because they're typically going to be more readily acclimated to the soil conditions in your area, but they're also generally better for your pollinators and wildlife in your region as well. So you'll start by doing some research, figuring out what kind of shrubs you want to create, which shrubs you want to use, and then you actually have to go and find them and source them. Now, you can bring a list to your local garden center, or simply go to a local garden center and just start asking around for some suggestions, shapes, particular interest that you're looking for, whether that's a fall interest, whether that's summer flowering, whether that's evergreen. And you want to include a nice variety of all of those different sorts of elements in order to have the nicest looking shrub border from one season to the next. As a professional gardener, I use a wholesaler, and the nice thing about wholesalers is that they actually will list all of their availability. So I basically go through the availability, see what I like, and then that starts to give me some sort of idea of what I want to use in my shrub border. So here you can see just a very rough little sketch I've created that will help me to place the plants in the areas that I want them to be. So it'll just take any guesswork out of the equation. It does not need to be a professional drawing, just something that basically shows the placement and the general proportional size that each of them will take up. You're absolutely going to want to try to remove as much weed material as possible, as well as cutting the grass as short as you possibly can in the areas that you're going to be planting those shrubs. So once you have all of your shrubs placed where you want them to grow, you want to make sure you have some mulch. We're definitely going to want to mulch the tops once we get them planted. You're also going to want to consider having some cardboard on hand. I like to put that at the base of my shrubs prior to the mulch. It helps to really keep the weeds away from the central root system of our shrubs, which is really important. If we're planting in the lawn, we do not want things like weeds or lawn to compete with the shrub for water and or nutrients. So I always like to use cardboard. So when we're planting our shrubs, we're going to refrain from adding in any sort of potting mix or soil amendments to the ground. We want to use the native soil in our grounds when we refill it back in, or else what can happen is the roots of our shrub, if you put it in some potting mix, the roots may just feel nice and comfortable in that potting mix, and they won't actually search and grow deeper into your soil. So we want to introduce them into the native soil. So once we have our hole dug just like that, you can see it's about you know, as deep, it's maybe slightly wider than the width of this pot. Pop our shrubs out. Now I'm here in the spring. Spring is a great time to do this. Fall is probably better. Fall is really nice to plant shrubs because with the cooling temperatures in the fall and the increased precipitation, it's a really nice opportunity for our shrubs to settle into the ground. In the springtime, it's nice, but when summer comes, we're definitely going to want to supply some additional irrigation as the sun and the heat of the summertime starts to really warm up. Now, while we're not going to add any additional amendments, we definitely can use the soil that comes in the pot. That's totally fine. We'll gently break up the root ball a little bit. And you can see it's nice and moist. It's a really good idea to water our plants in the containers before we transplant. It's going to make the process a little bit easier. Now, as you can see right now, the soil line is pretty much even with the soil of the ground, but that's a little bit lower than I want. We want the crown of our shrubs to just be slightly elevated from the level of the ground. So I'm going to add in a little bit of soil back in there. We'll take another look. Now that looks better. It sits up just a little bit above this, above the surface of the ground over here. And you can see there's also some slow release fertilizer mixed into the pot. That's a good idea. If you don't see there being any slow release fertilizer with the soil, this is a good time to add in some additional slow release guys. And then I'm just gonna backfill with what we dug up. So once you get it planted in the ground, my camera turned off for some reason. What I do is I will put cardboard right around the edge of my shrub, just like this, all the way around. And then you can see I leave a little bit of a gap right by the crown of the plant. And then I put a nice thick layer of mulch right here, but I also want to refrain from putting any mulch around that crown as well. We want the crown, which is right at that center area, to have a nice airflow. We don't want to restrict oxygen from entering into the root system, into the soil. So we'll do just like that. And we'll put mulch all the way around to the drip line being, you know, the extension of our stems, basically where that extension ends and you just travel downwards. We call that the drip line. So we want to put mulch all the way around that drip line. And then after that, we're going to water it in, but I'll water them all in once I get them all planted. So 1 down, 10 to go. Well, so I know it doesn't look like much now, but of course, as gardeners, we're always planning for the next 5-10 years out. So let's take a look at everything that I have planted. So we start off here with this lovely smoke bush, which will bring some really nice dark foliage. Now behind it, I have a leather leaf viburnum, which will be evergreen. It's just a little small guy right now. And then next to it is Viburnum rufidulum, which is one that I had not heard of before, but it has some really lovely foliage, really lovely flowers, really nice dark stem. You can see the flowers are already getting going. And then next to it is a nice little hydrangea paniculata, small little guy. So you can see I have a variety of different size plants that I've planted. Now this big guy right there, that is a Hamamelis vernalis. This is a witch hazel, which should have some really lovely foliage in the fall and just be a really hardy shrub for this border. Now, let me turn around real quick. Now this guy right here, this is a Philadelphus Buckley's Quill. Lovely, it's a mock orange, great white flower, should be fragrant. And in front of it is Ceanothus, in front of this witch hazel is a Ceanothus americana. This is also a native plant to my region and has also lovely white flowers in the summertime. I'm not sure if that one's fragrant actually. Now for a little bit of spring action, this is a tiny little lilac that I planted. So hopefully in a couple of years it'll be a little bit more full with some spring flowers. Behind it is Viburnum Chicago Lustre right here. And this will have some, should have some nice flowers as well as some berries going on. I planted just a couple of these dwarf crepe myrtles here. Behind it is Physocarpus Amber Jubilee. I love that foliage. It is so pretty. And it should retain that sort of foliage all season long. And then here I have just a little clump, a little cluster of 4 of these. These are Rose of Sharons for some nice white flowers. These ones are of course not native. And I love to plant Rose of Sharon together. I think they look really good when they're grown together. Now behind it is a Corylus americana. This is a American hazelnut, a great shrub, a robust shrub for really bad soil conditions. And this also should have some great fall foliage. And then finally, this is a Callicarpa americana, just starting to break out of its dormancy. And that should have some nice purple berries in the summertime. So it's just a small little border for now, but it should look good in the future. Well, with that, now you know how to start and create a shrub border from scratch. I hope you found this video helpful and instructive and giving you a little bit of inspiration to maybe create a shrub border yourself. They're probably the most powerful borders that exist in a garden because they provide beauty, year-round structure to your garden and different interests from season to season when you pick nice complementary shrubs. Anyways, if you found this video enjoyable, give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and I'll catch you guys later here on Plant Vibrations with me, Devin Wallien. Ciao.